And today is August 18th, 2020, which I believe
Yeah,
is the official 100th anniversary to the
it is.
day
You're right.
of the final vote
The
for the
19th
19th
Amendment.
Amendment
Yeah,
for women's suffrage. So,
right. Although the more I hear more about it, so many things had to happen after that to get everybody in on the vote. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know enough about voting rights. In fact, what is this all this stuff about voting rights legislation? I thought everyone had the right to vote. What's going like John Lewis's thing? What is that about?
All right, so to the
They,
best of my knowledge, so the
yeah,
Voting Rights Act, which is sort of circa 1965,
right.
actually required, and again, I'm not the world's greatest expert on this, but it
Uh-huh.
required what they call pre-approval, or I'm forgetting the legal term now, but when you
Uh-huh.
were going to do a change to the way you do some voting in your state,
Yeah,
even
right.
even small things like
Right.
redistricting and a lot of
Yeah.
other things, you couldn't just do it. You actually had to get the okay up at the federal level.
Federal. Okay.
And then, but the thing is that after a certain, there was a presumption in 65 that, in fact, certain states who had been bad actors for years
Yeah.
wouldn't be bad actors for the rest of eternity, so that after a time they
Yeah.
would no longer have to go through that. So
It had a sunset clause, you mean?
yeah, so every 20 years you have
Oh.
to kind of renew it. And so what
Ah.
typically happens is you do it. But I think in the last round, maybe some states which
Yeah.
had
Or
required
the and the
pre-approval were,
Supreme Court did something too. They took away
yeah, so I'm
some
not really keeping
protection.
up on it,
Yeah.
but the thing is, it's not something that's an absolute set in stone law that is
Okay.
forever, because it's very
Yeah.
much about these sort of like special regulations for certain
Yeah.
states. So,
What a
uh,
mess. It's a mess.
right now, I'm sort of the forgiveness crowd that says, well, even if you were the worst player on earth, one
Yeah.
day you will be fully repented, and you can be
Yeah.
welcomed into
Uh-huh.
you know
Yeah.
to the
Into
rest of
the yeah.
civilization, right?
Yeah.
So to me, it's totally correct that some states should eventually be removed from this pre-approval status. The question is which states, and there's some
Okay.
triggers that say, well, if there are X number of filings of civil rights violations or
Yeah.
whatever, then that will keep you on the list. But again, I'm not the expert,
I could probably
but it
guess the bad
continues.
actors, huh?
Yeah, you probably could. Yes. Right. But the thing is, there are
Yeah.
some other states, honestly, have done some, bad things that were not part of that. But,
Well, that's true. Like gerrymandering, right? I'm saying it right?
gerrymandering, yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that's something that's been around for a
That's a
long
right.
time. And
And
it's,
that's a threat. Yeah.
and certain types of gerrymandering is considered perfectly legal by the Supreme
Fine.
Court,
And the Democrats do it and the Republicans do it. So it should
Yeah,
be
so
just
it's just
outlawed. And
basically a matter
yeah,
of whoever's in power wants to hold
exactly.
power, and they'll find a way
Right.
to do it, So
Exactly.
it's
Right.
just sort of the way things are.
Oh boy.
All right. So
Um,
anyway, around
yeah.
town, I think it's appropriate to acknowledge the fact that there
Yeah.
was a terrible, terrible thing
Yeah.
happened in Cambridge today.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a death of a cyclist in Harvard Square,
Hmm.
right on the bend as you sort of
Yeah. I
you
saw it.
take the
I mean,
bend
I
right
didn't see it
around,
happen. I saw the aftermath, and that was like almost 2 hours later. Yeah.
right directly across
Yeah.
from the Harvard Square kiosk on the
Mhm.
Harvard side of the street.
Right.
There's no need to go into the
Yeah.
details of it all right now. I mean,
Right.
people were already jumping to
I
conclusions,
know.
which is
I
something
know.
I really hate about
I
the
know.
sort
It's
of
immediate. It's like,
world we
let's
live
get a
in.
cycle track in there. Let's ban all. I mean,
Right
come on.
now,
Get
all
the information.
some or all of these ideas may be good ideas, but the thing is that it does offend me when people just try and capitalize
I
on
know.
something before
I
facts
know.
are actually even known
I
here.
know. I know.
But it's what people do. But anyway, so hearts go out to
Yeah.
family and friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apparently, the niece of the person who was killed was there. There was an
Wow.
interaction between them that somehow may play a role in this, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I'll leave
Right.
it to the investigators to
Right.
determine the
There
facts.
was many state police there, and it was closed off for at least a few hours.
Right. It does bring up a kind of a question that's really unrelated to this, but it's
Uh-huh.
a serious question, which is the appropriateness of highway grade, highway scale 18-wheel vehicles,
Going through Harvard Square. Yeah.
or any local roads. Now
Especially
the
right
thing,
there. I can't imagine they even did it. Yeah.
right, and there are 18-wheelers and there are
Mhm.
18-wheelers. I mean, the thing
Right.
is that the cyclist fatality in Porter Square was one of those 18-wheelers
Right.
where there's a big squared off front where
Right.
even at best the driver can't see in front of them.
Right.
Now, if you have an 18-wheel vehicle, but the driver is right up at the window and can actually have complete visibility, then that's something I think you can work with.
Well, those are trucks that they're trying to get more in use, where it's a flat. It's like some of the buses are
like a bus driver. A bus driver is right there, has full view, right?
But until you do, we
Until
all
you
have to be
do,
aware of that big, massive thing near us. You know,
it's absolutely true. But I think there is something intrinsically unsafe about having a vehicle where the driver can't see in front of them.
Absolutely.
You
or
know,
a distracted driver. I mean, that happens
right.
with SUVs. It happens.
Right. Now I think that's perfectly fine if you're on an interstate highway. I don't think it's perfectly fine at all when you're passing through pedestrian intensive areas.
And that has to be looked at.
Right.
There's many factors here. I mean, that's
absolutely true. Yeah. Absolutely true. So that's very, very local and serious.
Yeah.
Now, meanwhile, you probably watched, Ms. Nathans, you probably watched some pieces of the Democratic National Committee.
I watched all of it.
And I watched none of it.
And you know what? I found out, because I had a friend in Chicago that was texting me, that depending on the station you watched on, and now I know the regular networks had it only on from 10 to 11, but MSNBC and CNN had it on 9 to 11. MSNBC had no commercials. And because my friend texted me, said, "Are you watching? Is this, you seem to be getting something." So I turned to PBS, and they were talking about what had happened. MSNBC, so I don't know how that happened. I think maybe the Democrats maybe bought ad time on the cable stations so that they wouldn't be interrupted. I don't know.
That's possible. That's
so
possible.
Now, of course, C-SPAN is your best bet. So you didn't watch anything? Oh, I thought it was great. I mean, I don't know. It was better than watching it live.
Well, it was better than watching the Red Sox and the Yankees.
Well, forget that. They're off the Celtics did a good job.
Right.
Except they lost Gordon Hayward.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to that. So you didn't want to watch any of it?
It's not that I didn't want to watch it. It's just that, I have to sort of be in the right mood. And I just really just wasn't in the mood to listen to the
It went quickly. Eva Longoria, I mean, people said, what? She's hosting? She's an actress. But she was good.
I did see little snippets today of Michelle Obama. And I have to say,
18-minute speech.
But of all the people who are sort of political players, even though she's not a candidate or whatever, few people exude such kind of empathy and humanity as she does. I mean, honestly, she's the best ticket they've got.
And from some of the reviews I was reading about it was that because it was pre-recorded, it wasn't live, and it was in her living room or whatever, it was personal. And she is a very personal speaker, and she could have delivered that, they said, in front of 20,000 people, but this made it even more intimate. And I think that's going to bode well for them.
I think that it does work well.
Yeah. You didn't catch any of Bernie?
No, but I probably would have changed the channel anyway.
No,
to be honest,
he was certainly a lot better than he was for Hillary. Let's put it that way. But that's
right. Yeah, you mean a little touch of sincerity, maybe?
He really almost.
Okay.
It was good, and he's got a big thing of logs behind him, which was funny.
Well, he's just trying to play that Vermont card, I guess. There, right? Yeah. So, or somehow bring up the Abe Lincoln log splitting image, right?
But, my last thing to say, if you want to see something funny about it, Stephen Colbert had a live show after that. He's doing it in an off whatever. The first 10 minutes are hysterical. You should watch it because he comments on, and it's just very good. You can catch.
I'll look it up. I'll definitely look it up. Okay. Now I have to ask. So, there had been all this speculation about who was Joe Biden going to suggest as his vice presidential pick.
I'm happy.
It's funny how the convention doesn't seem to have any role in it. It's the presidential person is the one who just picks it, right?
Why? That was not the case years ago?
I don't think so. I think you
still, announce your vice president.
You can announce it, but the thing is that ultimately it's still subject to approval of the convention.
That's true. I think they actually didn't announce it till the convention.
Right. I mean, it's become pretty much the tradition for some time now that the presidential nominee just picks it. But I don't know when if that has always been the case.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. But it was kind of interesting with all the speculation. Then the choice was made, and then it's a matter of like, well, is that a good choice or a bad choice? Is this going to help? Is this going to hurt?
I think it's great.
I think ultimately it will probably help, but my reasoning for that is it's an interesting little jujitsu move. When it was Kamala Harris, the presidential candidate,
It's Kamala, right?
Kamala? Okay.
Kamala.
All
I
right.
know. I've learned that.
Kamala. Yeah.
Kamala. Okay.
See that? All right. I'm going to just turn in my political
Okay.
cards now. I'm done. No, no.
So what
The
do you
thing
think?
is when she, as the candidate for
Yeah.
president,
Right.
people on the pretty much the hard left were sort of
Oh, yeah.
ganging up on her because she's really a cop. She's
Right.
she
Yeah.
was a
Right.
prosecutor, and that's really
Yeah.
where she's at. She's not
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
one of us and whatever.
Yeah.
But in a funny way now, because it is inevitable that the Trump people are going to play the law and order card as their
That's true.
number one strategy now. It's like, you better vote us guys in, because otherwise it's going to be crazy Marxists and it's going to be Portland all over, right?
Which is not her at all, and it's not Joe.
Well, right. So in a way, she's sort of an interesting counter to that. So you sort of say, oh, well, we've got a prosecutor here. It kind of works well, I think, in that regard. But politics is so much of it is about superficial perception as well. So it can be, you could be so based on actual substantive points, you could be the best or the worst, but still you may be elected or non-elected based on your height or the color of your shirt or something.
Right.
It's voters are very fickle that way, and I often will comment when I see political advertisements about what I consider to be effective political advertisements. And so, for example, in the Markey versus Kennedy race locally, I thought the best push from Markey was the ice cream man thing.
Oh, I saw that on you. I like that one. That was good.
Yeah, basically it promotes this human side of a person, and I think that's what resonates with voters more than issues. And I think it's always been that way, and it'll always be that way.
I wonder, can you still hear me? Is that
yes?
All right. It's interesting. Now, if Kennedy was a woman, do you think there'd be more support for him? Because I know a lot of people that you normally, like, it's not like an Ayanna Pressley against a long time similar Michael Capuano. It's very different. It's another white guy. He's younger and he's a candidate. Right. But I think if he was a woman and maybe a person of color, there might have been a little bit more.
It changes the rules of engagement completely in that regard, So,
but also the places they were, the place they were. Oh no, wait, this is his Senate. Excuse me. So that's like the whole state. Yeah. I don't know. So many people around here are pro Markey, which is good.
The thing is that often it works if the people who are of an area sort of start promoting it, then there's a kind of a confirmation bias that goes into that. So, if the people said, oh, this person is this way or that way, the next time you see them on the TV ad, you go, I knew that, because, it's actually what you've already.
It's a lot of progressives, though. It's a lot of people that were, big Ayanna Press, so it's interesting. It's not, I haven't really heard that much support for Kennedy. Maybe some younger people, really young.
Right. Well, it's interesting because not that I pay that much attention to the polls, but Kennedy had been well up in the polls. Now Markey.
Oh, I think it's pretty tight, wasn't it?
Well, last year was Markey had a reasonably comfortable lead now, but that could change too.
Did you watch any other debate? I watched the one last week. I think there's one tonight, actually, right when we finish. But I watched the one last week, and I was starting to kind of pull away from Markey because I felt he was so defensive and on about the super PAC that Kennedy's father's doing. But then apparently after that, a lot of people felt, he didn't do that bad. So I don't know. I still think, he's going to probably not run again. So
we'll see. We'll see. I mean, a Senate seat is a 6-year seat. So if he doesn't run again, it's still a good, it's still a long haul.
But what's interesting, Robert, is that we don't have ranked choice voting, and Kennedy's seat is ridiculous. There's like 9 or 10 candidates.
I've been commenting on that, and I probably am, at least to some people, starting to sound like a cheerleader for ranked choice voting, which I guess I am.
This is a perfect example when there are that many.
Yeah. The main argument in favor of ranked choice voting is not like the Cambridge situation of proportional representation. That's a totally different thing.
Right.
It really is about being able to vote honestly rather than strategically.
And it's more fair. It's like, why should someone, just because they get 23% and why should they be the...
Well, I'm reminded that when Michael Capuano first ran for what I think was then the 8th congressional district. Right now, the numbers have changed, right? But
Right.
Back when that was open, I think it might have been, was that when Joe
George
Kennedy, the other Joe Kennedy left, I
Oh,
think?
you're right. You're right. That's his
Yeah,
seat, I think. Yeah.
right. So then the thing is, there were multiple candidates. I think there
No,
were
no,
8 candidates.
was that his seat? That was my representative? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah,
But there were a
yeah.
lot of seats. Yeah.
Right. So the thing is, there were 8 candidates going for that particular seat, and Ray Flynn, former mayor of Boston, had been one of the candidates.
Oh gosh,
And I think you know, listen, it wasn't going to affect me all that much anyway. But the thing is, you had a case where I believe there were 7 candidates who were pro-choice, and one who was the pro-life was Ray Flynn. You know, he had been ambassador to the Vatican.
Oh, he's real.
And or maybe he would then become ambassador
but
to the
he's a
Vatican,
real staunch Catholic. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Exactly. So the thing is, I thought, well, you know, the way it works with vote splitting, if you're one candidate and then all 7 others are, at least to some people, indistinguishable, because if you only cared about the abortion issue, you could very well end up electing the one exceptional candidate who is actually the clear minority support candidate, because the majority of candidates were all split amongst all the other candidates, and that could have happened. But there is a weird phenomenon, like an 11th hour phenomenon, that happens in these multi-candidate races, where people start either literally bailing out and throwing their support to others, or voters start figuring out who's weak, and I better not throw my vote on to them, because if I do, it's going to hurt the whole range of candidates. So what happens is people start consolidating around certain candidates, and it's like a game of political chicken, where people have to kind of decide who's somehow the most viable of the surviving candidates.
But the problem is the advertising is real. I've only seen Alan Kaze and Jake Auchincloss. That's the only ads I've seen.
Yeah, but I think more and more. But the ads are becoming less and less the deciding thing, unless it's a real killer ad.
I don't know. I don't know. For this race, I think that's what people pay attention to. They're watching a lot of news. I don't know. They're watching local news.
I mean, honestly, I think the Markey ad, the ice cream man ad, that was a winner.
But that's a Senate seat. Yeah.
Right, but you win people over with something like that. But for some of these other ones here, I didn't think this would happen, but it seems to have happened in many respects, even at our local city council levels, where the big mailings, the big ads are becoming less important. They're not that they become unimportant.
Well, you're saying social media and all that?
Social media has actually become pretty important. Having very, very well-developed mailing lists. I think it was actually Barack Obama's campaign who really made an art out of that.
I knew that from 2008. Let me tell you.
Right. So
I knew it because he had door hangers. I had never seen door hangers. We were in Scranton. I said, wow. And then, of course, he was all over social media. So you're right.
Right. Exactly.
But there's a lot of older voters now. A big criticism of that race is that they're all from Brookline, Newton, or Wellesley, and yet it represents a lot of the South, the towns south of that. So,
yeah, well, and that's fair criticism. I suppose if you were the one candidate who was from one of the other places, you might have an advantage.
I do. There's a woman running, Jessie Mermel, who I've known. Actually, I met her in 2008 because she was a big Hillary supporter, and we stayed at actually her family's house in Pennsylvania. So I have kind of followed her, and I hope she can get there somewhere because she's good.
Well, it seems like she's one of the candidates where
there's 4 women. Yeah.
Right, but some other candidates are either bailing out literally, or
somebody did go to. You're right.
Letting it be known that okay, maybe you should vote for this person instead.
She's good. She's really going to go places.
But honestly, elections should not be a game of chicken. Yep. The thing is that you should be able to honestly vote for who you think is your preferred candidate, and then have the election system itself actually come up with the winner. So ranked choice voting, it'll be on the ballot in November.
I know. I hope people vote for it.
But I was joking. I said, can we just basically
let's
pass ranked choice voting, and then we'll do a do-over on this?
I know. I agree.
It would be the better way to do it, right? But you can't undo the election. That's the way it's going to be. So,
I hope people take it as seriously as they did the candidates vote. I'll tell you that, because that's that one.
Let's talk national one more time here. I want to talk more local, sort of local election so about different modes of voting. But, you know,
Yeah.
I was interviewed by a Harvard Crimson reporter yesterday about this whole controversy about mail-in
Okay.
voting and
Right.
the postal service, and
We need to answer some of those questions.
is there a right-wing, a great right-wing conspiracy to sort of undo mail-in voting around the country? To me, the jury's still out on that. I tend to go with Occam's razor on this. Basically, I go with whatever the simplest explanation is.
I think some of the measures taken, which now have been clawed back by the Postmaster General today. He said we will stop anything until after the election. So I think they heard loud and clear. People are.
I agree. I mean, even if it's only as a matter of perception, it is best to do that. But I actually, when people were kind of going on about this stuff, I said, well, okay. And I think it was on August 8th, there was a meeting of the Board of Governors for the United States Postal Service. It actually had the Postmaster General. Wow. It's his first meeting as a Postmaster General and the whole board there. And I listened to the whole meeting. And I just wanted to kind of hear it.
How did you know about it?
Well, it's a recording. It's a recording. I didn't hear it live.
But you found out about it through some.
You could just Google it. Yeah, you could find it. And I just tuned in and listened to the whole meeting and listened to the introductory remarks from the Postmaster General. I listened to the fiscal report from the Treasury people, who are dealing with it.
How many people are on the Board of Governors?
I think it's something like 8 or something like that.
Is it diverse?
Probably not, but I didn't look at. There were no photos. I couldn't really tell.
Oh, okay, all right.
But the thing is that it's unmistakably true that, in fact, the fiscal solvency of the Postal Service has been a bit of a question.
Yes.
One of the very first things that the new Postmaster General said was that he had been having discussions. He says, first off, he says, look, contrary to rumor, I'm not doing the bidding of the President of the United States. He says,
so even though I gave him $1 million, whatever. I mean, he's a big donor.
But I think political patronage is how federal appointments have always worked. Well, so that in itself didn't shock me either. But the thing is that there were. So he said, we talked to Munchin. Was it the guy, the Treasury head? Yeah. Mnuchin. Munchkin, what am I thinking?
Whatever.
Right?
Yeah. The money guy. Yeah.
Money guy. Yeah. Sounds like Phil Rizzuto, the money store. So anyway, so basically they'd gotten a $10 billion guarantee. So the thing is, so they would be able to float, but they did talk very much about the changes in volumes in the post office, how first-class mail has dropped precipitously, and how package handling, which is much more difficult and much more expensive to do, has grown significantly. So I'm listening to it. I'm thinking to myself, if I was sort of the management,
there's got to be some changes.
Yeah, I'd be rejiggering everything and moving things around. So I said, okay, I'll give them a pass on this until you prove to me otherwise, right?
But his timing is a little bad.
The timing is terrible. Just terrible.
The optics don't look good, right?
Not good optics. Right?
Physical mailboxes off of the street.
But I have to tell you, when people were taking photos of trucks hauling away mailboxes and like going, see, look, it's happening. I'm thinking, oh, come on. And there were even two Cambridge City councilors who were going, look, see, it's happening. I think, seriously,
here, I don't think.
Calm down here, right?
But the sorting machines, I think that's
the more curious question for me.
Right. But it is true that they have a long-term pension problem, and I think it's related to a deal that they agreed to, which actually is unfair because they're a quasi. So there's a lot of complexity to this.
Right.
They need apparently $160 billion or something to be solved. I heard some outrageous figure, and that's
they don't need it all at once. They need to reconfigure the way they do business in order to get it to work in the long haul, though. That's for sure.
But anyway, let's get to the voting. Yeah, so that was good that you watched that. Yeah.
No, I was seeing it. I mean, I have to say, I'm fascinated by the way social media and confirmation bias plays into itself, so that people go, they hear something is true and they go, look, see, there's the evidence, right? And I go, no, that's not evidence. I'm sorry, it isn't. But so I get a kick out of that. I will admit that, But meanwhile, back here in Cambridge, and I should say even in Massachusetts, we have. I think that everybody's noticing there are some slowdown in the postal delivery.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably attributable to things like the fact that They have to do social distancing. They have to put somebody there to manage a line out in the lobby at a
Yeah.
post office.
Yeah.
They're using.
Well, there haven't been any lines that I've noticed lately, but yeah. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's better now. It's definitely better. But the thing is that, you know, logistically, it's pretty clear it's been more difficult to actually do the job.
Right.
And I give those one example. I submitted. Well, we're both doing mail-in balloting.
July 21st. I have it on my thing.
Right.
But
the thing is that the election commissions across the state didn't get their packets of everything until
right. And I can
August.
Understand that they probably didn't want to send it out piecemeal, even if they had them. They
right. Exactly.
But then why, if it's going out from a Cambridge address to another Cambridge address, is it taking so long?
It's spotty. All right. So one of my neighbors, who's also a former elected official, I just started, half hour ago. She told me that they sent in their application on Saturday and got their ballot today.
Oh, come on. I sent mine in July 21st.
All right, no, it's not Saturday. I think it was Friday. Right. Yeah,
although
I know you did.
Although you personally know somebody, and I won't go into that.
I know.
But I still haven't gotten it. I didn't get it today.
Right. Well, so mine was mailed on the 12th, and now it's 6 days later. It didn't arrive today. So.
So when was can I find out when mine was mailed?
Yeah, I think I told you
that
actually.
Address. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yours was mailed 2 days ago.
Yours took 6 days from.
And it still hasn't arrived, so it'll take at least 7 days to arrive. The thing is, I've heard other stories that are even longer. But the thing is, this is not some great grand conspiracy.
No, I know that, but the problem is, Robert, that they're saying you can send in you can send in your an application for a ballot till August 26th.
Exactly.
I know. How's that supposed to get back by September 1st? Or maybe not for the
shouldn't. Actually, that's one of the things that the Board of Governors of the U.S. Postal Service said.
Yeah.
They said that in fact they had some real issues with the state legislators and various secretaries of state for setting their deadlines so far back that in fact they may not be able to meet even the most established standards for the Postal Service for postmarking and delivery. So the thing is for example, in Massachusetts, you can still apply for a mail-in ballot as late as August 26th.
Right.
But everything has to be submitted no later than September 1st.
I know. So that's crazy.
That is crazy. That's a mistake that came from the legislature. Those dates should have been further forward so that there was a little more lag time that you can take that into account. But so
all right. But the bottom line, Robert, you still answered my question is if you get that ballot and decide you don't want to mail it in,
you can still vote. So
in person, so you can do one or the other.
Yeah. So as it stands right now, and we should actually I'll show you a little bit.
Let's go to share your
posted
screen
here today.
Go ahead.
I'm going to just sort of switch over here for the moment here. Going to actually kind of quickly go right down to here. So this is well, that's all right. We'll just leave everything up here. So the thing is that they moved the drop box that had been over at the basement entry to 51 Inman Street where the election commission is. They moved it over to the Inman Street side. It's out there, and you can use it from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day.
A person is out there,
and there'll be a person out there, and and they arranged it so that the slot is somewhat obstructed, so you can only put in your ballot, and that's it. Right. So you can't put any foreign substances or anything else like that in there.
Right.
That's Joyce Gerber, who some of you may remember from a former candidate for school committee.
Right.
But the thing is that in addition to this, and this was the thing I thought was most significant, was that you can take your mail-in ballot if you're a little unsure about postal delivery. You can bring it here, or you can go to any of the early voting sites, which begin, and that starts this coming Saturday, August 22nd, till the following Friday.
Wow.
And they have very, very, so it's Saturday, August 22nd, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m., Sunday the 23rd, 9 to 3, and Monday through Friday, August 24th, 28th, 9:30 to 5.
At all of those places?
And there are 3 locations, right? Moses Youth Center, formerly called the Area 4 Youth Center, Cambridge Water Department up by Fresh Pond, as well as the Valenti Library over down East Cambridge. Okay.
They're not even open.
So the thing is that, and they will have a box there, and you can actually deposit your mail-in ballot.
That's probably what I'm going to do. Yeah.
Right.
If I ever get my ballot.
Right. And my understanding is you won't have to wait online if you just want to drop off a mail-in ballot. If you want to do early voting, and some people, then there may be a line and you have to do it that way. Right. So, so anyway, that's
all right. But here's my question. Somebody mails in their ballot. God knows when they'll get it. Right.
Right.
But then they go vote in person. Is that going to be caught somewhere? Because then I can hear Trump saying like, "Oh, that's weird."
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So they have this whole check-in system, and they now have kind of an electronic poll pads, what they're calling them now, so that in principle, if everything's working correctly, which I think it is.
Yeah, but if they haven't gotten the ballot yet, they won't know if you mailed it in.
That's true. But the thing is that if you go and you said, well, I don't trust that my ballot's going to get there in time, and you in a panic, you go running down to and you vote. Okay. Then what will happen? Well, your vote will count as you voted in.
Oh, and then when they get the mail-in ballot,
they'll go and they go, oh, sorry, this person's already voted. Now, please, people shouldn't do that.
I know.
But, but if that were to happen, because you get worried.
But it is important for people to know that just because they get the ballot and they don't send it in doesn't mean they can't vote in person.
Exactly right.
Okay, so I think that's important for people to know.
Yeah. Right. And there's still absentee voting. That's still an option that people can do.
Right. No, you're right. Which is, how is that different?
From early voting?
You go to the election commission.
Right, exactly.
Is that open then? It's open?
Yeah, there are dates when it'll be open. Somebody will be there to take an absentee ballot as well. So anyway, so there are options, and you just go to the Election Commission website. You can go to my website as well, and it has all the information. I think it's probably worth noting for those people who do still want to vote in person, and I do know some people who do, that of the 34 precincts, 14 of them have moved. And they moved, because of concerns. Like for a lot of them were in nursing homes, and there's no way.
Nursing homes and schools.
So the thing is,
libraries too. Maybe.
Right, and the schools are actually quite available. In fact, they're even, at least one case I know of, they're actually going to have nothing else going on in the school that day because they can afford to do it since so much is online now anyway. But they
did change them for most of them.
Yeah, a lot of things changed, a lot of consolidation, so there are multiple precincts.
It's easy enough. Are they going to send out a postcard about, or they don't?
Yes, everybody is going to get their traditional postcard. And I will actually do one more share screen here. Okay. I think I have it here. And by the way, there is this link here where you can actually check the status of your ballot.
Right, of your ballot. Right.
Worth knowing about.
Yes, that's very good.
But if I don't go whipping right by it here. But
I think you went by it.
Here. But I do want to say here, there is the election commission has it. Also, there is a complete list of the revised list of the polling locations, so that you can actually see. I have in bold the ones that have been moved, so you can see there's a certain amount of consolidation. The voting at
that's excellent. So this is pretty clear.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm putting that out. The Election Commission is putting out.
Yeah.
Everybody should be sort of sharing as much of this information possible.
On all the listservs.
So that people should know. Yeah.
So, Robert, how much time do we have left? I want to see some of the Starlight Square stuff.
So it's we've got about 12 minutes to go here.
I mean, I know there's some city meetings this week, I guess. The AHO ordinance.
The Affordable Housing Overlay Ordinance Committee meeting
tomorrow, I think.
I think it is tomorrow evening. There's no public comment at that one. I want to emphasize that.
Oh, at ordinance meetings, there's no?
No, they normally would be, but they already had one ordinance committee meeting that was, I think, primarily, if not exclusively, public comment. So I only noticed this afternoon.
When was that one? I guess I
that was a month and a half ago or something. But anyway, so this one here will just be counselors jabbering about on about it. So there's no public comment.
5 o'clock.
Yeah, so that's tomorrow.
Okay.
Right. You mentioned Starlight Square. So Starlight Square is kind of interesting. We've been sort of talking this up a little bit here. They had a ribbon cutting for a grand opening of it.
I missed that. I went by I was walking home with Debbie Gailiff like at 8 o'clock or 8:15 on Friday. And
it was in the morning. It turned out it was in the morning. I only found that out like the night before.
I was wondering
but we could take a couple of quick,
Were you
quick
at the
views of
puppet
that.
show? I see that you have a
I
nice
was
shot
not
of.
at the puppet show, but the
Who
thing
gave you
is
that
that
photo? It's a nicer photo than I gave.
yeah. So the thing is, these were just ones I don't. And
Here's the
normally, I
ribbon
would give an attribution who provided the photo, but it was in the Central Square Business
Okay.
Improvement District
All right.
promo, so I just sort of borrowed them.
Okay. But
It was
anyway, I
kind of
think we showed those. No, we couldn't have showed those to
no,
you.
no.
We didn't
So it
have
was kind of delightful. They had a
Yeah.
group of, I guess they were Cambridge Ridge Latin High School students,
Yeah.
Lenny's Funk Band or something like that,
Yeah.
playing. Peter Valentine, who's in many respects is the one who sort of
Gets his own pink
put the
seat, I
name up
think.
there
Yeah.
for Starlight Square. So
Yeah.
they provided a special seat for him right up
I know.
front. And there's old Peter. And just for I mean, I'm just whisking through here. This is actually his brother-in-law was reading some of Peter's poetry.
That's his brother-in-law?
Yes,
Wow.
yes, his sister was there as well.
Oh.
And he was like the star attraction. It was really kind of fun. You can see some known figures up on the stage, including Peter DeMuro from the Dance Complex, Reverend Ellis, is Mark Boyce Watson, Patrick Barrett in the back, etc.
I see Patrick.
So this is Matt Boyce Watson, Mark's son, and he was really kind of the person who designed it. He's also was a main player in putting together Bow Square over in Somerville.
Oh, that's true.
So he's like a chip off the old block in terms of being a mover and shaker about these things.
Right.
Michael Monesteem, who looks even in a mask, Michael comes shining through.
Yeah, he does.
And here is Peter Valentine and Jason Weeks from the Arts Council.
Yeah.
And
how come Peter's not wearing a mask? He's holding it.
Sometimes he was, sometimes he wasn't. I think everybody around him. Everybody else would wear a mask when they were near him. So, but city manager Louis DiPasquale, who one of his more charming traits is his, regular man about town. He knows everybody in town pretty well, And this is I forget the fellow. It's
but I know what the loop is. That's great.
Because
Sean Hope, no.
Chris Hope. That's it.
Hope.
Yeah. Loop Lab, who they do business in Central Square, and Peter and Jason. I mean, I'm just sort of whipping through here. Denise in one of these here. I got a kick out of here is that Joseph and Morris Nagar, the Nagar family, who own a lot of property in Central Square. So I've known them for years. So there they were chatting with them. And then as I was going through Graffiti Alley, there's the mural of the two of them side by side. And I said, this will be fun. Let me just put the two pictures side by side. It's about 25 years apart. But I thought it was kind of a kick, and the exterior of it actually really kind of felt a lot like a street, but just to kind of whisk down through. So there's some ones that were part of the promos that was going up on the Central Square bid that I think I got in the mail today. Again, this was some of the musicians from the ribbon cutting. This was a real nice, well lit shot of that same front piece. Yeah. Which really looks kind of great, I have to say. I look at that and said, man, that's just great.
Yep.
Again, just a night shot of some.
I was. You know what? Maybe you can see me. I'm back there somewhere.
All right. So this is the puppet show, right?
Yeah.
Punch Judy.
Well, it's Judy Punches Back.
Yeah. Well, that's why you went.
Yeah, that's why I went. Yeah. It was good. Yeah.
All right. And again, this is.
If you can go back, go back to that. That's Deborah Wiseman, who was giving the introduction, because she's like one of the theater directors at
Central Square Theater. Yes. I don't know. Actually, this fellow's name is listed, but I forgot it again right now. But it was in the promo. I actually did see some of the dancers from the Dance Complex just doing a class there. That was not open to the public.
I went by there and saw some young kids doing.
Yeah. So this. Even just during the day, there's all these things happening here. Just a few area shots of it really is like it's in many ways. This is not only a venue; it's also kind of an art installation. It's kind of great that way, And again, this is just a shot looking at the.
That's almost like the shot I sent you.
Yeah. And I love some of the artwork. That you just sort of see, just sort of this displayed, pretty much everywhere. So, it's been kind of great, and I think everybody needs to understand it's kind of like a great gesture to sort of the arts community as well as the business community in Central Square to create
I just hope they can,
a great gesture.
I mean, I know it's free, the performances. I donated some money. There's a youth program through Central Square Theater. So I think if you can, donate money. It's nice. You can do it online, but
Yeah.
it's a great, I just worry about if it's raining, how they're protecting everything, but I'm sure they have it all figured out.
I think most of it's pretty weatherproof, but the thing is,
Yeah.
you know, but you obviously there's certain things you just won't be able to do, and if it's rainy and
Yeah.
windy or something,
Oh, right.
you know.
Well, that's true with the restaurants and everything.
Yeah, you know. By the way, Central Square Advisory Committee is having a meeting tomorrow night where we're not deciding anything. It's but I had suggested to them that, you know, in light of a lot of the stories that are out there in the world about you know, various places either being sold or businesses closing, businesses trying to survive, that we should just have a general discussion about, you know, sort of the future of Central Square. You know, which is what we'll just have it's kind of just a conversation tomorrow. But I'm still doing my best to try and, you know, get that conversation in as many places as we can, because to whatever degree that there are going to be vacancies and, you know, some really catastrophic changes, I think people will see. Then there's also opportunities associated with that, so that if people are at least mindful of the kinds of things that you want to see coming out of the other end of this hideous tunnel, people had better start thinking about that. You know, you know, it doesn't have to be all bad outcomes. You know, but if you don't think about it and don't try, it could be. So, you know, I think that's, you know, part of the conversation we're going to have.
I just can't believe it's August 18th.
Yeah.
And we're still dealing with this.
We're still dealing with this. It is true. But
it's really something.
Yeah, it's really something. But, you know, the thing is that, you know, on any given day, you'll either get pessimistic news or optimistic news about sort of where this is all heading. You know, for a while there was actually, I could tell, there was a noticeable little uptick in the transmission of coronavirus. And the number of positive cases showing up in Cambridge. That is now, it's dropping a little bit here. So, you know, you got to, you know, stay on your game, folks. You know, this isn't gone, and it's not going to be away. And the students, as the students come in and there's more people coming and going, there's more possibilities of reintroduction of this, and people are going to have to be really good about this.
That's one of last week there was the police camera meeting, but there was one with the colleges. I listened to both of them, but the colleges, it was interesting. MIT, pretty amazing kind of thing that they have set up over there. Yeah,
you like incredibly frequent testing of students, staff,
and a limited amount of students coming in, but
limited amount of everything. But all the universities are grappling with this. It's kind of interesting. Remember, there was this book called Laboratories of Democracy that was sort of a big thing during the Clinton administration. But in a way, it's like every university is like a laboratory of infectious disease control, where it's not like it's one set rule that's just sort of laid down. It's the people are kind of being creative and coming up with best practices.
But unfortunately, though, I think in Cambridge, it's a city versus, like, I heard talks like Vassar or West Point. I mean, they're self-contained little bubbles, as some of the students say. We're not a bubble here. We're not
a bubble here. Right. And so I think it's probably fair to say that if MIT says we think we've got a good plan, that people at Harvard are listening and going, I think we like a lot of those.
Well, Harvard presented too, and they have.
But the thing is, it's not like they're working
They're not working
independent of each other, and nor are they working independently of the Broad Institute and the City of Cambridge and the Health Commission people.
Yeah, I mean, we have so many. You know, we have a wealth of health data here and resources.
No, I think we have a lot to be proud of in terms of how we've done the response in this here. But, you know, but we're all still flesh and blood human beings, and people still have to step up and be mindful. I know. And, you know, and I do see a lot of slacking off. And
you do? I'm so glad I live where I live here, because everyone wears a mask, mostly.
For the most part, down the street, you know, but if you go through Central Square, you'll see a lot of people who are not.
Well, I try to go around Central Square.
I know.
I'm sorry. It's just, but, you know, in general, stores, never an issue. Everyone, you don't go in, you don't know wearing a mask.
That's right. And so.
And no arguments about it. I mean, you hear about this
exactly
stuff going around.
Right.
It's just like,
no, I think we're doing pretty well about this. But, you know, even nationally, you know, it's in some of the states that there was a real splurge going on. The positivity was up, but now it's declining. And then we say it's about 2 weeks before the deaths will then peak, and now they are starting to drop off. So now the question is, well, what kind of secondary waves do you encounter down the road? I mean, that's the next thing to see.
I know.
Be watchful for.
Well,
we'll
so
it's
see
a
what
pretty serious
happens
thing.
in, let's see, 2 weeks. It'll be what? What's the date of 2 weeks?
It'll be August 32nd. No, actually, it'll be September 1st, and then I'll be back teaching then too.
Today. Oh.
Yeah. It's really getting really close. We're
that's primary
breathing down
day.
the neck of September.
And we're going to have.
That's right. It's coming up really, really soon. So.
All right.
Anyway, we should sort of wind it down now. We're down to our last 15 seconds here.
See you in 2 weeks.
So we'll definitely be back in a couple of weeks. And don't forget to vote one way or another, but only once. And we'll see you again soon on Cambridge Inside Out.
Bye-bye.